After the first 3 events of the 1998 season, it's been all Budweiser, which has been great news for this man, Bernie Little. But there may be a new star on the rise. Another rocket's arrived, traveling at an average speed of more than 160 miles per hour. But to win here, he must overcome this man, who has a score to settle with this river in a rocket of his own. Welcome to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Ralph's UHRA Thunder Tour 1998, presented by Las Vegas. Coming to you from the picturesque Columbia River in Tri-Cities, Washington. It's not just another race in another place. Hello, everybody. I'm John Nicholson. You really can't start here in Tri-Cities without talking about what happened here a year ago. Dave Villwock, with 19 consecutive heat wins, going for a tie for the record in the final, instead went upside down. Almost lost his life. In fact, lost a couple of his fingers. Everybody here is aware of that, especially in the Budweiser camp. But if Villwock himself is concerned, he'll never let you know.
I've wrecked boats here before, you know, and I wrecked boats before I won the race in '96, and I wrecked boats after I won the race. So, you know, it's just another race, and I'm going to come here and get prepared, and I think the crew's done a great job, and we're ready for race day. So, you know, we're just going to do the best we can. If we end up upside down, so be it, but we'll know we will have tried.
Last week in Norfolk, Villwock and the Budweiser team rolled over a field of just a half a dozen boats. Here in Tri-Cities, there's a lot more competition. Let's go to my partner, Steve Montgomery, with more about that.
As long as there has been a race here on the Columbia River, some 33 years, it has always marked a point in the season where the field got bigger. A lot of teams based in Seattle just didn't have the resources to go back east. They would show up here and compete in the west. Now, one thing has changed. It used to be backyard operations, hobbyists coming out of Seattle for this race, so the field got bigger, but the quality didn't really increase. Big difference here. The Appy and Geronimo team, their new combination in Detroit, little problem with gearboxes. They came back, got it fixed, and you can see how they're running. They're extremely fast. Next door to them, the Elstrom family has their Elam Plus. It's been a white rocket, and they will be with us in the west. Bill Wurster and Nate Brown have the Lumar running extremely fast. A good example, Jim Harvey and Steve David in the black boat, second fastest back east. They are 5th here on the qualifying ladder. The field not only bigger, it's faster. We've increased the quality as well as the quantity. Should be a very competitive day.
And here's one of the guys who should make it competitive, Mitch Evans, driver of the Appy and Geronimo, taking a week off after the Gold Cup, now set to go, as we're going to get ready for a look at how things went in Heat 1A. With 4 of the top 6 qualifiers in Heat 1A, it shaped up as great competition. The favorite would have to be Appy and Geronimo, which qualified at over 160 miles an hour, just behind the Budweiser. Favored, yes, but Jimmy King and Elam Plus had other ideas. Here's a look at the starting lineups as they headed up toward the start. Appy and Geronimo, the boat to watch along with Miss Elam Plus. Mr. United Furniture has a rookie, Greg Hopp, driving it. He'll be a trailer in this race. And here's how they came to the start line. A good start for Jimmy King and the Elam Plus. Also a strong start here for Mark Evans and Pico American Dream. Appy and Geronimo's in lane 2. Steve and Dave and the Miss Molson's on the inside, but Pico was out to an early lead. We look for the first time for the O'Doul's Eye in the Sky. Some close racing is what we saw to start off Heat 1A.
Great shot there. You see Steve David in lane 1. He could control this heat, but that team's having gearing problems. They don't have the top end they need to get into that turn with the crowd. And this boat has been the story. Over 160 miles per hour in qualifying, very nearly as fast as the Budweiser.
Greg Hopp, on the other hand, stopping entirely, and out of this race he went in Heat 1A. Appian, after starting a little bit behind, jumped out to a big lead in that first back straightaway. But then in lap 3 of 3, Jimmy King came roaring up on the Appy and Geronimo and right by him.
As the Appy and Geronimo appears to be slowing down, Mitch Evans later told me he had handling problems throughout this heat. He was not able to hold the boat on line.
Jimmy King had told us before that the boat had more speed than it showed in qualifying, so with the combination of Appian's problems and his speed, a big win in Heat 1A for Jimmy King and the Elstrom family in the Elam Plus. Second place wound up going to the Appy and Geronimo. As Jimmy roars it back in for a victory lap, we'll check the results. Miss Molson with Steve and David wound up in 3rd place, and Pico American Dream was 4th. Steve talked with the winner.
That's as good a job as we've seen of driving on the outside for a long, long time.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's wonderful to have a real boat race instead of follow the leader.
Going to be a good day.
We hope so, but it ain't over yet.
Nate Brown was looking for a good day. He's got a fast boat, but he was not necessarily the story in Heat 1B. Let's go to Steve and see what was.
With Dave Villwock and the Miss Budweiser drawn into Heat 1B, the only question was, would anybody be able to mount a challenge to the Red Rocket? Well, how about the doctor, Ken Muscatel? You heard me right, Ken Muscatel.
Still hard to believe, you say. Here is the lineup as it stood for Heat 1B. Ken Muscatel on the Miss Jackson Sports Bar. Jerry Hale driving Bob Fendler's Easter Seals U19. And there is Budweiser closest to you, Muscatel, and then Mike Weber on the inside in the costless carpet. Budweiser had the quick start, but Ken Muscatel was not about to let him go right away as we looked in the O'Doul's eye in the sky.
In our last event on saltwater, Ken Muscatel could not get off the trailer. This weekend, he has run very, very well. This boat has a lot of chute speed.
The Budweiser running in lane 3 began to open up a lead, but then Ken Muscatel came right back again on Dave Villwock.
Using the advantage being on the inside, as I said, Ken's boat has good chute speed, and in the turns, Dave Villwock has to leave him room, has to go a long way around.
So Ken gave Dave a good run, but that's all it turned out to be. And in the end, Nate Brown here in the Lumar window film also went by Ken Muscatel for 2nd place. Budweiser takes the Heat 1B. Yet another win, only 1 heat loss so far this year, and that was in a false start. Lumar window film, Nate Brown took 2nd place, and a very creditable 3rd for Dr. Ken Muscatel as they all went around in a parade lap. Here are your results. That's 400 points as usual for Budweiser. Easter Seals got 169. Costless Carpet came in 5th, and Steve talked with who else?
Dave, I promise I won't ask again if you'll tell me what it was like the first time through that turn in competition since last year.
Well, it's fun. The guys, again, have given me a very, very great race boat to drive. So, you know, that just makes my job easier. It stepped over that stuff better than anybody, and I think we ran the fastest lap in lane 3, so we're real happy about that.
You probably didn't have time for a lot of memories right then, huh?
No, we were kind of busy. We're going to try to win this thing.
Good start, boss. This is the way it ought to be, huh?
That's the way it ought to be.
That's 1. After the break, we'll find out if Heat 2A was to be for Mark Evans. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Columbia Cup is brought to you by Ralph's, first in savings, first in Southern California. By Las Vegas. Anything can happen, and usually does when it comes to special events. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer.
The thermometer says 108 degrees as we get set for the running of Heat 2A here on the Columbia River. Here's John.
The draw for Heat 2A found Miss Budweiser being challenged by all the other fast boats except Appian. Among the draw, the other Heat 1 winner, Elam Plus. The question was, would the Bud be up to the challenge? Yep. Not that they wouldn't give the Bud a run for the money. We checked the starting lineup as it was for 2A. Again, Mark Evans trying to make something happen with Pico. Jimmy King is in there too, but Bud, man, oh man, Steve, look how Dave Villwock is taking these starts.
John, he'll make over 40 starts before the season is over. He's missed 1 so far. You wonder if somewhere along the line he isn't going to miss another one. That was perfect.
I think he learned from the one that he missed. He doesn't plan to make any more mistakes.
Now, a pretty good story is the Elam running inside of him. Last year in Seattle, Jimmy King couldn't hold his line, ended up right on top of the Budweiser. The white boat is an entirely different race boat. The Elstrom family has done a great job with it this year.
And as we see in these highlights from Heat 2A, for a while, Jimmy King was able to give Dave Villwock a run on the Budweiser, but then, again, seemingly inevitably, off went the red boat and the white boat trailed behind, along with everybody else.
Dave Villwock also doing a nice job of leaving room for Jimmy King on the inside and giving us a boat race.
Heat 2A went to the Big Red Machine. That's 2 straight here at the Columbia River for Budweiser as we look at the checkered flag. And it's become, when are you going to catch this guy? Jimmy King's thinking about it. He took a 2nd in Heat 2A. And Steve David once again. Where's Steve? Why? Steve came in in third place to pick up another 225 points. So he's doing a pretty good job with not a terribly fast boat for Jim Harvey Motorsports. Nate Brown in the Lumar window film had some difficulties, wound up 5th. And then Rick Christensen in the Mr. United Furniture Warehouse was last. By the way, Mike and Laurie Jones, sponsoring this boat, say they don't know why it's being called Mr. Here's a look at the results. Dave Villwalk, with 800 points now, has yet to run in either lane 1 or lane 2, and Steve asked about that.
David, I doubt if lane 3 was your first choice, but you know now you can run there.
Actually, yeah, we wanted to start. We know these guys, they really haven't got the performance to run in some of these lanes that they're in, and we wanted to show them that's going to be a mighty wet place in the final to be if they want to be in lane 1 or 2.
A statement there from Dave Villwalk for everybody else. Wow. A statement from the Budweiser team. Here's Mark Webber getting set for Heat 2B, but all eyes would be on another boat. Right, Steve?
At this point in the day, we had answered a lot of questions that have been with us throughout the 1998 season, but one big one remained. When would the Appian Geronimo live up to its incredible promise? And the answer was Heat 2B.
Here's how they lined up. Jerry Hale driving the Easter Seals once again for the Bob Fendler camp. And you've got Mark Webber, as we said, in the Master Tire. It would take a good start for the Appian Geronimo, and indeed, Mitch Evans got one.
We knew that if the team was successful in solving Mitch's rudder problems, they were going to be a handful for everybody. He reported a great boat ride in this heat and really set a standard, I think, for the rest of the season now. We're going to hear a lot about the Appian Geronimo.
Looking from the O'Doul's eye in the sky, you see the lead Mitch grabbed around the first turn. Easter Seals in second place, and then Mike Webber driving the cost-less carpet. Ken Muscatel running into some trouble there. Not enough room, really, to try to get through.
Look at this boat ride now. This is a Leland hull, a former Pico American Dream, and running like it did back in the championship season.
By the second lap of Heat 2B, there was a race for second place between Jerry Hale and Easter Seals Closer to You and Mike Webber driving the cost-less carpet up ahead. Mitch Evans became oblivious to that, just running the Appian Geronimo as hard as he could. But that race went head-to-head all the way around the second lap. Jerry Hale not giving any ground on the inside, and Mike Webber on the outside.
Jerry Hale, last year's 54-year-old Rookie of the Year. Good to have him back in the sport. Look at the beautiful boat ride here for Mitch Evans.
Eventually, Mike Webber, closest to you, pulled ahead of Jerry Hale, and the Easter Seals went dead in the water. Appian Geronimo taking Heat 2B in a wire-to-wire beautiful run by Mitch Evans. There's the checkered flag as Mitch took it, bringing joy, no doubt, to the heart of Jerry Rise and the hearts of everybody in the Appian Geronimo crew. And Mike Webber in the cost-less carpet came in second. Who was third? Well, it wasn't Jerry Hale on the Easter Seals because the boat wasn't going anymore. We told you Ken Muscatel had some trouble at the start, but he kept on going, and sure enough, it was third place for Miss Jackson's Sports Bar. And fourth, rocketing along on the Allison engine, Master Tire and Mark Webber. This time, Steve talked to the crew chief of the Appian.
Tim Ramsey.
Yes, sir.
That's a long winter that was maybe worth it now, huh?
Well, we put a lot of hard work into last winter. You know, we all have been putting in a lot of extra hours, and what it turned out being is that, you know, we thought we were due for a heat win, you know, maybe a couple weeks ago, and we've just had nothing but gearbox problems this year, and we think we resolved those problems, and actually as a Geronimo sponsorship with Jerry Rise and the Appian Graphics Corporation, this is our first heat win, so the guys are pretty excited.
And what they're excited about is after 2 heats, Appian Geronimo has not only its first win, but a total of 700 points, just 100 behind the Budweiser. So you had to know Mitch Evans was happy.
Good job. Yeah, that was a nice ride there. Mitch, it looked absolutely fabulous. How did the rudder feel?
It was perfect. The guys, it took a little bit of working, but we finally got it there. We got us a real rocket ship here, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the day.
This is the way it was supposed to be, huh?
That's it, you know? Sometimes it just takes a little bit more time than others, but times like this are sweeter sometimes, so we're ready to go.
Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Today's Alamo Almanac is brought to you by Alamo Rent-A-Car. It's drive happy time again. Ready, set, go.
By 1989, the turbine engines had taken over the sport of unlimited hydroplane racing. It had been a long time since a piston power plant had been in the winner's circle. But through a strange set of circumstances, the final heat here at the Columbia Cup, only one turbine boat. A strong one, obviously, Tommy Deeth and the Miss Budweiser. But these two boats with piston power, Mitch Evans in the Cooper's Express and Mike Hansen in the Miss Madison, would mount a pretty good challenge. And about this point right here, Tommy Deeth is notified he's been disqualified, and the Cooper's Express would drive to the last victory ever by piston power, the only time Mitch Evans would see the winner's circle so far in his unlimited career.
The Alamo Almanac has been sponsored by Alamo, where renting a car is fun. Let Alamo put you smiles ahead with drive-happy deals and services. Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour, presented by Las Vegas. John Nicholson and Steve Montgomery bringing you the Budweiser Columbia Cup. Getting set for the start of Heat 3A. Nate Brown looking to put some heat on the favorite, Dave Villwock and the Miss Budweiser. Steve David has been doing pretty well so far, driving in the Miss Molson. He's picked up a total of 450 points in a couple of heats to this point. Can he keep it going? Can he put any heat at all on Dave Villwock? It doesn't seem so as we count down to 4 minutes to go to the clock start. Dave Villwock, by the way, is driving the Budweiser T3, not the T5, which is the boat he went over in last year here on the Columbia River. Mark Webber coming out on the Master Tire, the piston-powered boat. Again, the only one now in the running out here. 108 degrees. You can see all the umbrellas trying to keep the sun off there, the folks on the shore. Dave Villwock, as we said, driving the T3, although it did not qualify quite as fast as the T5. They felt, the Budweiser team did, that it's set up better for the 2.5-mile oval course here on the Columbia River in the Tri-Cities, Pasco, Kennewick, and Richland, Washington. Here is Appian Geronimo, which brings us to Steve in the pits.
With the boats on the water for the running of Heat 3A, the plot thickens, as does the competition. We now know the Appian Geronimo is as fast as anyone out here. They've drawn the red boat in 3A, and this could be the biggest challenge to the Red Rocket so far in 1998.
So important for Mitch and Jerry Rise's team to get to that next step. Also important for this team, Lumar Window Film, Nate Brown, the driver. He's got some speed and lots of driving ability to present a challenge to Dave Villwock. But so far, a challenge is one thing. Beating him has been entirely something else. Villwock has not even bothered, as we said earlier, to try to get an inside lane. He's been coming from lane 3 so far to win his first 2 heats.
Looking at a newer version of the very same piston boat that we featured in our Alamo Almanac, still owned by the Cooper family. Mark Webber now the driver. Steve David at the bottom of your picture in the black and yellow Miss Molson, not having a great day, having some gearing problems. Still, though, in second place in national high points.
And he has managed to pick up a couple of thirds so far in spite of those difficulties. We'll see what he and the rest of the drivers can do in Heat 3 when our Speed World coverage of the Columbia Cup continues. Coming up on the start of Heat 3 for the unlimited hydroplanes here on the Columbia River, the Columbia Cup, 20 seconds to go. Will Dave Villwock steal another start?
You heard Dave earlier challenging any driver to try to take the inside later in the day. Nate Brown is going to stick his yellow nose in there in the Lumar Window Film. That is him on the far right side of your picture. Then the Budweiser, then the Appian Geronimo. Can Mitch Evans challenge from the outside?
And at the start, once again, there goes Villwock. Mitch Evans is going with him. Nate Brown falling back just a little bit. What a great run here by Mitch Evans. But Villwock has the inside.
Look at the top end by the Geronimo. At the end of the straightaway, he was actually going faster than the Budweiser, and now he skips out just a bit. That's the disadvantage of being on the outside. You have to let the guy on the inside establish the radius in the turn.
From the O'Doul's eye in the sky, you see Nate Brown trying to take advantage of the inside lane and move up on Budweiser. But Villwock is beginning to stretch it out already, and the race seems to be for second between Nate Brown and Mitch Evans in Appian Geronimo.
Still less than a rooster tail lead for the Budweiser, so Villwock has to leave a lane for the Lumar, and as long as he does, the shorter race course will give Nate a little bit of an advantage. Right here, he actually picks it up just a bit on the red boat.
3 laps again here in Heat 3A. Vilwak completing the first, and his average lap speed is over 152 miles an hour, just 10 miles an hour slower than he qualified the boat.
And he qualified, John, in lane 1, and now he's out considerably from there. That's a fast lap in that lane. Now he's able to move over. He has the overlap, and you see the Lumar dropping back a bit. Second place, some damage. Look at the wings on the Appian Geronimo. Something has happened to the back end of that boat.
They're dragging the entire tail assembly there, and yet Mitch Evans still has the boat moving and moving pretty fast. He's going to try to hold on and see if he can at least get second here over Nate Brown in the Lumar window film. No problems, it appears, again for Dave Vilwak in the Budweiser.
No word on what happened to Mitch Evans. He was on the outside. I don't think he got into a rooster tail. Apparently, the wing assembly on that boat has just collapsed. It hasn't slowed him down a whole lot, though.
Here is Dave Vilwak, not slowing down much, coming around to finish up lap 2 of 3 here. And here is a pretty good look at what's happened to the Appian Geronimo.
Right now, Mitch would prefer to have all that mess fall off the boat. That's a handling nightmare. He's really got his hands full right now, John.
He's still got a slight edge on Nate Brown, but Nate has the inside lane with a lap to go. It's going to be quite a feat to hold the boat together and hold off Nate.
Not only that, John, that rear wing on an unlimited hydroplane is very functional. It provides lift on the transom through the turns, keeps the boat up out of the water. The boat is really balanced to have the wing on it. And right now, Mitch Evans is doing a tremendous job with part of a race boat.
From the O'Doul's eye in the sky, look at Nate Brown on the inside and Mitch on the outside, just about a boat length ahead. Now here comes Nate. Here comes Nate in the Lumar window film on the inside. The Appian crew saying, come on, hold him off, hold him off.
I don't think they have to tell Mitch that he has problems. I'm sure he knows that by now. He's doing a great job, but it's just impossible to run that boat at full song with the tail feathers in the shape they're in.
Around the last turn, Budweiser heading for the checkered flag. That'll be 3 for 3 for Dave Vilwak here. And behind him in this last straightaway, Nate Brown has gotten by this boat, the Appian Geronimo. So Nate in the Lumar window film will be second, and Mitch Evans in the Appian Geronimo takes third. Still a very courageous and skillful drive. Here's Dave Vilwak coming in for a victory lap. And Appian Geronimo is going to go straight into the pits. A wise move by Mitch Evans to see if they can get that boat together for the final. Again, a heck of a job of driving by Mitch with his tail assembly gone early on. Here are your results. It's a perfect day again for Budweiser, 1,200 points. Let's go down to the dock and have Steve talk with the winning driver.
Wow. Fairly routine compared to the rest of the day, huh?
Well, we try to make it look that way, but the crew did an awesome job. Bernie Little has really put together an all-star team here, and I'm just happy to be one little part of it.
Bernie, one bobble, though, and you got speed behind you now.
Yeah, really, all the boats are running very good. This is an awful good event. And we come prepared to win, and we're going to try to get that done.
Ken Muscatel is up next in 3B. Can he pull off another strong finish? Speed World coverage continues. Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour, presented by Las Vegas, the Columbia Cup. And folks here doing anything to keep cool, and if that's not cool, I guess I've never seen cool. Under 5 minutes to go to the start of Heat 3B. Let's go down to Steve Montgomery on the dock and tell us how it shapes up as the boats start to head out onto the water.
If the Pico American Dream Team is going to be a factor today, they'd better come to life right now. Based on history, you would expect them to be the favorite here in 3B. But Jimmy King and the Elam Plus have actually been faster today. Let's see what happens.
Nice timing, Steve. There goes Jimmy King out onto the water in that beautiful white boat. It's been fast. It's wonderfully set up. Of course, they've had extra time to get this done because they did not run the eastern part of the tour. Ken Muscatel also has been surprising people all day. We'll talk more about that as we check the unlimited 3B lineup. We find Mike Weber, who's done a pretty good job in the Cost Less carpet. Also, Rick Christensen is now driving the Mr. United Furniture, those two boats from the Mike and Lori Jones camp.
The Pico American Dream on the right side of your picture also has been a bit of a mystery today. What in the world happened to the horsepower and the speed that this team has shown us for the last several years? They are out here running at 3/4 throttle, John. Nobody seems to know why.
Mark Evans continues to try to drive the boat hard at every opportunity in spite of the fact that he knows they have these difficulties. Kenny Dryden, the whole crew trying to find some answers, but it's been mighty tough on everybody. Again, Rick Christensen now driving the United Furniture for the Jones camp.
We were told that Rick would split the driving duties with Greg Hopp, the rookie who just qualified this weekend. And John, here is our most improved player. Nobody expected the Elstrom family to come out of Ballard, which is the old Scandinavian community in Seattle, with their white boat, the Elam Plus, running like this, having a tremendous weekend.
Just about 3 minutes now till the start of Heat 3B as we look at Mark Evans and the Pico American Dream. Still a bit early to determine which boat will be in which lane. You never know. You could get a big upset. You could get Rick Christensen in the United Furniture Warehouse doing something. We'll find out how it goes in just a moment as our Speed World coverage of the Columbia Cup continues. Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. John Nicholson, Steve Montgomery bringing you the Budweiser Columbia Cup. We're coming up now under 30 seconds to the start of Heat 3B. Pico American Dream in the foreground, but now we see Ken Muscatel is in lane 1 and Jimmy King in Elam Plus is in lane 2 as they come around toward the start-finish line, Steve.
The doctor has indeed finagled his way into lane 1. A lot of speed right beside him, Jimmy King. Then you move out to the Pico American Dream, which we still expect to come alive at some point today. Look at this start by Jimmy King. The young man has a fast boat and doing a great job. He's right on the line.
Mike Weber in the Costless Carpet also with a good start, coming in here in the white, yellow, and blue boat. And Pico American Dream is right up there with him.
But dropping back again. He doesn't have the horsepower he'd like. From our Duel's Eye in the Sky, look at the perfect line through this turn by Jimmy King in the Elam Plus. John, this is a boat which last year at this time would not go where Jimmy King pointed it. Eric Elstrom and that crew have done a tremendous job. They are the comeback players of the year.
In the first run through the backstretch, Jimmy King opening up a solid lead, and Ken Muscatel is behind him in the Jackson Sports Bar. But Jimmy King is all by himself as he comes around to wrap up the first lap in this 3-lap heat.
With the two white boats leading the way, you see Jimmy King leaving room for the doctor on the inside, and Ken Muscatel's old boat having a very good day.
2 laps to go for Jimmy King as Muscatel tries to move up. Here is the lap average speed for the first lap, 148, almost 149 miles an hour, and that is not bad for the Elam Plus. Pico is falling back. Ken Muscatel is trying to hang on. He still has the inside walking that boat just a little bit, Steve, as he comes into the turn.
Ken Muscatel and the Jackson Sports Bar running ahead of the Pico American Dream. My, how things have changed.
Who'd have thunk it a year ago, or even, well, a week ago after all the difficulties Ken Muscatel had in Norfolk.
Just a great ride for Jimmy King and the Elam Plus. It's one thing to get a nice smooth boat ride. It's another to go fast. And right now, John, he's doing both.
Ken Muscatel still not letting him out of sight completely, hoping maybe something will go wrong and he'll be able to capitalize. Ken still running strong in the inside lane, but Jimmy King has got this boat handled nicely around the turn to finish up lap 2 and 1 more to go for him.
Running like an Indy car down the front straightaway, nearing 200 miles per hour as he comes across the start-finish line, and getting again a very nice boat ride from our O'Doul's Eye in the Sky. You see the race back there for second place. That's the Pico, the dark boat, on the left.
And of course, Dr. Ken Muscatel on the inside. Pico with the nose just out ahead. Muscatel and Mark Evans both walking their boats along as the water gets a bit rougher as the race progresses into the turn.
This turn down here, John, is very rough because it's the downstream turn, and the current carries all the rough spots on the river down into that turn. That's where Dave Villwalk had his accident last year.
Although the drivers say the river is not as fast this year as it has been in prior years, making it just a little bit less rough anyhow. Now here comes Jimmy King one last time around to take Heat 3B if nothing goes wrong for him, and so far he has done just a marvelous job of driving the boat. Here he comes, not too far behind Ken Muscatel, but he's not going to catch Jimmy King. There is your winner of Heat 3B, taking the checkered flag, the Elstrom family's Miss Elam Plus, and Jimmy King cruising around. Ken Muscatel will take second, Pico giving him a run, but not quite getting there is Mark Evans. So Dr. Ken Muscatel will pick up 300 points. And again, we've talked about this impressive performance for the good doctor. And with all the frustration, really not all that awful to be third place in this heat for Pico American Dream. You do want to make the final no matter what else happens. Let's go down to the dock.
Well, Jimmy, the driver's name and the paint job are about the same as last year. Other than that, it's a whole new deal here, huh?
The Elstrom family and Elam Plus did just a great job. I mean, they took all the information from last year, made the right calls, and made this thing come to life.
You got to be having some fun, running ahead of the Pico, running ahead of some fast boats out there.
Been here for 4 years, and it's about time I saw the other end of a rooster tail.
We've seen the much bigger unlimited fleet here at Tri-Cities. Well, the unlimited light fleet also has been beefed up. 10 boats here, and right back here, 4 boats making their season debuts at Tri-Cities. But this boat, the UL 125 Wildfire, seems to have the best chance of putting some heat on the Alamo and Beau Scheid. George Stratton's got the boat going fast. If that is, he can keep it all together. In the final at Norfolk, in the first heat here, he drove with just 1 tail fin. And here, he won.
Well, they might not match, but the Wildfire will have 2 wings in the Unlimited Light final next on Speed World.
Welcome back to our coverage of the Columbia Cup in Washington's Tri-Cities. They're hard at work in the Appian Geronimo pit to repair that tail assembly that collapsed in the last heat. But we're just about set for the Unlimited Lights final. We checked the starting lineups. The favorite's got to be Beau Scheid and the Alamo, but also George Stratton and Wildfire right here has been strong. He's won each of his 2 heats, and Beau has won each of his 2.
Coming down to the start, the Wildfire is way out ahead of the Alamo. If he's not too early, he's going to have a big advantage on Beau Scheid, and it's a great start. The Wildfire is the leader into the first turn. We got a story here because the Alamo has that unbeaten string right now in big jeopardy.
From the O'Doul's eye in the sky, the inside lane is Steve Weber in the Apex Industries, and Beau Scheid is in trouble.
The Alamo was slowing down. The winning streak appears to be coming to an end right here. I'm not sure, John, that he was going to catch the Wildfire anyway, but he has a problem aboard Ned Allen's boat. The first hiccup of the year for that team.
Alamo is not going anywhere in a hurry, but George Stratton is. This is a 3-lap final, and Stratton has really got it going in Wildfire.
This was a brand new boat last year at this time out of the shop of Ron Jones over in the Seattle area, and it is a very, very fast boat that has been a little bit inconsistent so far in the 98 season. Of course, it's famous for its 360 in Kelowna, where he landed the boat right side up, drove it back to the pits, did a similar thing in Detroit this year. I think right now, John, he'd like to keep it right side up.
Steve Weber in the Apex Industries also running strong. This is, of course, a shorter course than the Unlimited's run. It's 1 2/3 miles, 3 times around, and Stratton has got this thing going just perfectly as far as we can tell.
This boat is capable of exceeding 160 miles per hour on these straightaways with automotive power. Weighs about 1/3 as much as the big Unlimiteds, and of course a lot less horsepower, but a very good power to weight ratio.
Jerry Hopp driving the UL 14 Graham Trucking. He has driven the Unlimiteds too, and his son Greg, of course, has driven earlier here in the Unlimiteds.
Here is Steve Weber driving the Apex, a boat that's also come on very strong the last 2 events. This was a very much anticipated final heat in the Unlimited Lights with the Alamo and the Wildfire and the Apex and the Miss Leroy expected to hook it up. Actually, turned into a parade a lot faster than we thought it would, with George making that great start, John, and that was the story of the race.
As George rocks on, we have the word that Rick Bridgman in Shockwave has been disqualified. He collided with the Union Pride driven by Tarek Troxel just before the start, so Bridgman, though he's still running, is officially out of this race.
Coming by us now on the bottom of your screen, that's the Pete Swicket Ale Dave Bender's boat. He was not up and running at the 1-minute gun, so he's not a legal starter. And now the Apex is out of the race. So our much anticipated final heat in the lights has become a battle of attrition.
Here is the survivor of this battle of attrition, George Stratton, with his 1 white tail fin and his 1 yellow tail fin. And you know, they may leave it that way because since they've gone to that particular color scheme, they've been doing quite well. Haven't lost a thing yet. Speaking of which, checkered flag for George Stratton. Wildfire is the winner here. Dave Bender now, and Pete Swicket Ale appears to be second, but as Steve mentioned earlier, He was not up on plane at the 1-minute gun. Steve Weber does not finish at all. Here is your second place boat. Miss Leroy, Randy Haas, just managed to get across the line and finish second. And then the Graham Trucking winds up third. Every other boat in this race either did not start, did not finish, or was disqualified. And goodness gracious, here is Terry Troxell barely staying afloat in the Union Pride. Here are our results. George Stratton takes it. Let's go down to the dock and have Steve talk with him.
What was it you said to me when you went by in the golf cart Friday, and I said that's the fastest you've gone all week? You said wait until Sunday.
That's right. We had her dialed in. We did our homework this weekend. We broke a lot of equipment the last couple of weeks, and boy, oh boy, the guys worked their tails off, and we don't like hearing that the fastest we can go. We can go a heck of a lot faster than that. I don't know what my average speed was. I don't know whether it was that good, but the boys sure did their job, and I can't thank enough Ron Jones and the guys from Fabrication Specialties. They've really come through and helped us a lot.
Congratulations to George, a speedy survivor. Up next, here is the speediest boat around. Can he do it again? Speed World continues. Welcome back to Ralph's Thunder Tour, presented by Las Vegas. John Nicholson, Steve Montgomery bringing you the Budweiser Columbia Cup. Dr. Ken Muscatel, first of the boats, heading out onto the water for the final. It's been a good day for Dr. Ken. 2/3 in a second, piling up 750 points.
I refer to his boat as old. He doesn't mind. He's building a brand new one up in his shop in Friday Harbor, and last time we'll see this boat in the Tri-Cities.
He's done pretty well, considering.
Having a great day.
Ken Muscatel is always pleased to be in the final. After that, gravy. Here's Jimmy King, who wants to be right up toward the front of the final, as does, of course, the Elstrom family.
If you had told us at the start of this weekend that the Miss Elam Plus would be one of the favorites in the final heat, John, a lot of people would have been very surprised. Budweiser, little problem getting spooled up and underway here. Keep an eye on Dave Villwalk. Boy, this would be a story. What a way to have the chain of victories broken. Now he appears to be getting it underway again. Got to get up on a plane, but he's got lots of time.
That should be just about the end of that story. A bit, well, no, he's still having some difficulty. Here he goes. Here goes Dave Villwalk. A little bit of tension there, particularly, I think, in the Budweiser pits. But Dave, I suspect, is confident all the time. You know, you're going to have a little something from time to time. So we come down to just about 3.5 minutes. A beautiful look from the O'Doul's eye at the sky at that 2.5-mile oval course. And the dicing for position won't get underway in earnest probably for another minute or so. But the Budweiser looks strong. The Budweiser, again, is the boat to beat. Can Dr. Ken run close? He stayed with Dave Villwalk for a lap and a half on one occasion, but this is going to be 5 laps.
By far the fastest final heat field we have had so far in 1998. This boat, the Appian Geronimo, appears poised to challenge the big red boat. And of course the Elam Plus and the Lumar. You have Steve David in the Miss Molson going by right there. We haven't heard a lot from him today. He always sticks the black nose in there. This should be one of our great final heats of the year.
Steve has managed to pile up more than 600 points by finishing in the money. Easter Seals has had its difficulties, but Bob Fendler, the owner, probably not too worried as yet because this is the debut this season for this boat.
Jerry Hale earned a spot in the final heat, but he's the trailer boat after winning the consolation, and he got beat up so much last year as a rookie being a trailer boat. I'm sure he has some memories of all that rough water back there.
2.5 minutes to the start of our final. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Budweiser Columbia Cup has been brought to you by Ralph's First and Savings, first in Southern California. By Las Vegas, anything can happen and usually does when it comes to special events. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew. It's what beer drinkers drink when they're not drinking beer. Counting down to the start of the Budweiser Columbia Cup final, 40 seconds to go, and here is the starting lineup. The Budweiser, of course, is the favorite. Everybody else trying to put some heat on, and Jerry Hale and the Easter Seals will trail the field. They're coming around now toward the start, under 30 seconds to go as we look at Nate Brown in the Lumar window film.
Out ahead of the field, John, but he's way on the outside. The Budweiser does not have lane 1. Dr. Ken Muscatel is in there. It looked like the Appian Geronimo was also in there between boats inside the Budweiser. Lumar a little early. If he doesn't have to slow down, he's going to make a great start. And here comes the Elam on the outside.
4 seconds to go. Let's listen. Elam pokes his nose out ahead. But now here comes Budweiser. He's 2 lanes inside of Elam. It's going to be those 2 boats heading into the first turn. Jimmy King really rocking. But again, Dave Villwock also a terrific start, Steve.
At the 3/4 point of the front straightaway, the Elam was actually going faster. From our O'Doul's eye in the sky, the Appian Geronimo is not in this picture, John. What happened to Mitch Evans? He's not there.
He apparently has run into some engine difficulties because he's slowed down. There he goes, right through the picture.
Just went by right in front of us. He is a half a lap behind the leader. Something happened to Mitch Evans on the run down to the start. So the Appian Geronimo is not going to challenge Miss Budweiser.
Through the back straightaway and into the turn for the first time. Coming around to finish lap 1 is Dave Villwock and Budweiser. This is a 5-lap final, and you see we've got a little bit of rollers already.
Yeah, but look at that boat ride. You cannot build a machine to skim over the surface of an uneven river like this at 200 miles per hour any better than that.
Close to 200 in the straightaways. We saw the average lap speed of 149 plus, but he has yet to shake Nate Brown in the Lumar window film. Here is Nate. And that's a very pleasing sight for the Lumar window film crowd in the Bill Worcester camp.
And they should be excited, John. For that team to be running second at this point is a tremendous accomplishment. Except for a brief appearance in the Gold Cup where nothing went right, this is their first real race this year.
Villwock now opening up a bit of a lead, but has not shaken Lumar window film yet.
Once again, we saw the Appian Geronimo come through the foreground, and he is still a half a lap behind the leaders. No word yet on what went wrong for Mitch Evans, apparently right before the start.
Mitch Evans back there running with the trailer boat, Jerry Hale and the Easter Seals. Here comes Villwock. A little bit of walking there. He's got it handled. Finishing up lap 2, 3 more to go.
In the early days, they called them prop-riding hydroplanes, 3-point hydroplanes. About 1/3 of the propeller is in the water, holding the transom up. A little bit of wetted surface on the sponson, but most of that 6,000 pounds well above the Columbia River.
Jimmy King in the Elam coming up now on the outside. He is in 3rd place. We saw a moment ago Nate Brown trying to close a little bit of distance on Villwock from the O'Doul's eye in the sky. A rough ride around that turn we know too well, Steve.
Slamming into some of those rollers created by the current as it comes down the Columbia, and it was one of those rollers that very nearly killed this very man, Dave Villwock, a year ago today.
Here is Dave Villwock walking it down toward the other end. Still in control of this race.
But Nate Brown in that bright yellow Lumar boat right there on his hip, should the Budweiser bubble, we could have a surprise winner here, and nobody knows better than Dave Villwock how quickly things can go from wonderful to disaster. Pam Villwock remembering very well what happened here last year.
We heard Dave say at the top of the show, hey, I've been over in boats before. It's just another river, just another race. But you've got to believe Pam is going to be very happy when this one's over, particularly if it's over and he's in 1st place, which he is right now. Here comes Nate Brown again, trying to close up some water on him.
Not a big lead for the Budweiser. He does appear to have things under control. And realistically, from our O'Doul's eye in the sky through that turn right here, the fateful spot on the race course as Dave goes through it once more. And unless something happens to the red boat, it's going to be 4 in a row for Bernie Little and the Budweiser team.
Dave scrubbing off some speed in that turn, then opening it back up along the back straightaway. He is in lap 4 now. When he completes this, he'll have 1 more to go, and he's opened up more territory over Nate Brown in the Lumar window film again. Each time in that straightaway, he seems able to do that.
Running up that back straightaway, one of the fastest on the circuit. That's the Pasco side of the Columbia River. He'll make a left turn now toward Kennewick, come down to start finish, get the white flag, and he'll have 1 lap to go to victory for the 4th time here in 1998.
1 heat loss all year long. That's 1 more than he had coming in here last year. But this time, it certainly appears no disaster impending as we see the white flag. You never know. He's still got to go through that tough turn 1 more time, and here it comes for Dave Villwock in the Bud.
Over 100,000, I think sun-drenched is the appropriate term, 108 degrees at race time today here in South Central Washington. Now, just about a half a lap to go for Dave Villwock, and the Columbia Cup 1998 will belong to Bernie Little and the Budweiser racing team. But John, if you're a driver, this is the longest half lap of your life right here.
Dave has said he's been very pleased to see the support he has received from the crowd here. They've been rooting for him all the way along. A lot of times people say, let somebody beat this team, but not this week.
There were challenges from the Appian Geronimo, the Miss Elam, and the Lumar, but once again, it's going to be all Budweiser, John.
Around the last turn, heading now for the checkered flag to hear the cheers of the crowd. Dave Vilwalk and the Miss Budweiser, after some major frustration here and a disaster last year, will be the champion of the Budweiser Columbia Cup on the Columbia River in the Tri-Cities. There he goes. There's the celebration by Bernie Little and the Budweiser crew, and of course Pam Vilwalk, probably the happiest of all. Nate Brown, who carries the banner of Tri-Cities on his Lumar window film boat, is second, and Ken Muscatel gets fourth in the final heat. Third place goes to Miss Elam Plus and Jimmy King. There's Jimmy heading back in. Nice performance for the Elstrom team. Disappointment, though, for Jerry Rise's team. Mitch Evans finishing sixth. No disappointment in the Budweiser camp. Let's go to Steve with Bernie Little.
Bernie, exactly a year ago right now, one of your worst days in boat racing, but it gives you up and downs, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. And today we're at our peak, and next weekend we're going to be at our peak, and the next weekend it'll be peaker.
Peak, peak, peak from here on.
I hope so. It's never been done, so we might as well take a shot at it, right?
There's a new entry in Webster's for Bernie Peaker. We checked the final results. Budweiser, of course, the perfect 1,600 points, and Lumar window film and Miss Elam Plus finishing third and second. The O'Doul's high point standings on the year. Budweiser with a big lead now over Jim Harvey's Miss Molson. Steve's got Dave.
Yeah, where's the boss?
David, your boss has had some of his best days and some of his worst days right here. I guess now you can say the same thing.
Well, we haven't won here in quite a few years, and we were really pissed about that, you know, and this river owed us one. So the crew did an absolutely wonderful job to take the Miss Budweiser and prepare it. And, man, that was absolutely the best boat ride out there ever was, boy. And it showed it in the final. Just awesome. Bernie Little put together a real all-star team here, and I'm just happy to be part of it.
Dave, we love you.
Oh, I love you. That's great.
Wow.
That was good.
Oh, my God.
We're back in the winner's circle, the Columbia Cup. We don't kiss the river or nothing.
That's right.
Our congratulations to Dave Vilwalk and Bernie Little on 4 wins in a row this season. Don't miss our next broadcast, coming to you from the Molson Thunderfest in Kelowna, British Columbia, August 21st, 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And stay on the inside track of the UHRA by becoming a member of the Winner's Circle. Just call the number on your screen. Promotional consideration for this broadcast has been provided by Motorola Racing Radios and by Bruce Coach Custom Conversions, official motor coach of the UHRA. For Steve Montgomery, I'm John Nicholson saying so long from Tri-Cities, Washington, and we'll see you soon from Kelowna.